Today's episode is perfect for you. We're going to talk about how listening to real-life stories can boost both your listening and writing skills. Stories are a fantastic way to practice because they help you hear natural expressions, vocabulary, and sentence structures that you won't always find in textbooks. By listening carefully to real-life situations, you'll learn how to communicate more effectively, improve your comprehension, and even sound more like a native speaker when you write. In this episode, I'll be sharing personal stories from my own life. These stories are full of practical language you can use in everyday conversations. You'll hear me describe moments of joy, challenges, and even unexpected lessons I've learned along the way. By focusing on these real-life examples, you'll understand how English is used in day-to-day situations and how you can apply this to both your listening and writing. Let's jump in and start learning. Let's begin with one of the most common situations that many of us experience. A moment when something unexpected happens and you have to think quickly. It could be a surprise call from a friend, an urgent work request, or even something as simple as realizing you've forgotten something important. Have you ever found yourself in one of those situations where you had to respond quickly, and in English, you had to use phrases or vocabulary you weren't quite sure about? Well, let me tell you about one such moment from my own life. I remember one morning I was running late for a meeting and my phone buzzed with an unexpected message from a colleague. She was asking for my input on a project, and I had only about 5 minutes to reply. In that moment, I had to figure out how to reply quickly but still sound professional. I wasn't sure what vocabulary would fit, but I ended up using some expressions, like, "I'll get back to you on that," and "let me quickly check and get back to you." This situation showed me how much language changes depending on context. In moments like this, you can't rely on formal or textbook English. You need the kind of English you hear in real life. It's the kind of language that flows naturally and makes your communication sound smooth and fluent. Now, let's break down some of the phrases I used because they're great examples of what you can use in these situations. "I'll get back to you on that" is something you might say when you're asked something urgent, but you don't have all the details yet. It shows that you'll respond later, but it sounds confident and professional. "Let me quickly check and get back to you" is a more casual way of saying you're going to check for the information and respond soon. These phrases are common in both work environments and personal situations, making them essential for both listening and writing. Think about how you could use these phrases in your own life. Maybe you've been in a situation where you had to send a quick email or respond to a colleague during a busy moment. How did you phrase your thoughts? Could you have used more natural-sounding language, like the expressions I just mentioned? Listening to these kinds of real-life moments helps you prepare for when you find yourself in similar situations. Over time, as you hear more and more examples of this kind of communication, it becomes easier for you to incorporate it into your own conversations and writing. Let's take another example from my life, this time about handling a small problem. A few months ago, I was at the grocery store, and I noticed a mistake on my receipt. The price for a product was higher than I expected. I approached the cashier and said, "Excuse me, I think there's been a mistake with this item. Can you double-check the price for me?" This simple interaction used language that was polite, yet clear and direct. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about that. If you listen closely to the way I phrased my question, you'll notice that it's not just about using the correct words. It's about how those words fit into the conversation, how they sound natural, and how they make the situation less stressful. In a stressful situation, like questioning a price, it's easy to feel nervous. But when you use language you've heard and practiced before, it comes out smoothly and confidently. In this case, I also used a helpful phrase. "Can you double-check the price for me?" This is a polite way to ask someone to verify something without being demanding. It's one of those phrases you'll hear often in customer service or while talking to people in stores, cafes, or even over the phone when you're making inquiries. It's a great example of functional English, the kind of language that's useful in everyday conversations, but isn't always found in textbooks. If you pay close attention to these types of exchanges, you'll notice that the language used in them is very different from formal English you might learn in class. It's often more relaxed, more conversational, and it reflects how people naturally communicate in real life. This is exactly the kind of English you'll be listening to in this episode, and it's the kind of language that can transform your writing as well. Let's focus on the next part, writing. Many learners struggle with writing naturally, especially when it comes to writing emails, making requests, or explaining things clearly. After listening to real-life conversations and stories, you'll notice a shift in how you approach writing. Take the example of the grocery store situation. If I were to write an email about the receipt issue, I might say, "Dear store name, I recently made a purchase at your store, and I noticed that the price of one of the items I bought was higher than expected. Could you kindly verify the price for me?" Notice how this email follows the same structure as the conversation I had in person, but it's now in written form. I'm still using the same language, polite, clear, and direct. But this time it's in a written context. By practicing real-life conversations, you'll start to see how the language flows from speech to writing, making both easier to manage. And this is the power of listening to real-life stories. They give you the tools to not only understand everyday English better, but also to use that understanding to improve how you write. If you're able to listen to someone speak naturally and then replicate that style in your writing, you'll find that your writing sounds more authentic and less stiff or formal. Have you noticed how the way I speak and write changes based on the context? It's the same with the way native speakers communicate. When you listen to them talk, you're absorbing these subtle changes in language use. It's the little things, like when to use "could you please" versus "can you," or how to phrase a request politely, that make your English sound more like a native speaker's. These are exactly the types of skills that come with listening to real-life stories. Let me give you one more example. Last week, I was talking to a friend who was telling me about an unexpected experience during a trip. She got lost in a city and had to ask for directions. She said, "I was completely lost, so I walked up to a stranger and asked, 'Excuse me, could you help me find my way to the station?'" This simple sentence is something you might use in a similar situation. You'll notice that it's polite and uses clear, understandable language. It's not about using fancy vocabulary. It's about getting your message across in a way that sounds natural. The beauty of real-life stories is that they help you practice this kind of everyday language. When you hear a phrase like, "Could you help me find my way?" in a story, you start recognizing it, and then it becomes part of your vocabulary. Over time, you start to speak and write with more ease, knowing that you have a bank of natural-sounding phrases to draw from. And that's the goal of today's episode, to get you comfortable with the kind of English you'll use in real-life situations. When you start thinking in these terms, both your listening and writing skills will improve dramatically. Let's explore another area where real-life stories can really help you understand how English works in natural conversations. Handling unexpected emotions. We've all been in situations where we feel nervous, happy, or even frustrated, and how we express these emotions can change the language we use. Have you ever noticed how people adjust their language when they're feeling stressed, excited, or confused? It's not just about using the right words, but also about the tone, the pacing, and the expressions that go with it. These are all things you'll pick up by listening to real-life stories, and they're exactly what you need to sound more fluent and natural in English. Let me share an experience with you. A few months ago, I had an unexpected situation at work. It was the end of the day, and I was heading out for an important meeting when I found out that the presentation I had spent hours preparing was missing from my laptop. I felt my heart race. I had worked so hard on it and suddenly realized I was missing the most important part of the meeting. In that moment, I had to control my emotions and still communicate clearly to my team. I called my colleague and said, "I'm in a bit of a panic right now. I can't find the presentation. Can you help me figure this out quickly?" If you listen closely to what I said, you'll notice that I'm expressing a bit of panic and urgency, but I'm doing it in a way that still conveys the message calmly. "I'm in a bit of a panic right now" is a way to show stress without going overboard. It's not an overly dramatic phrase. It's a controlled expression that tells the listener I'm worried, but still able to focus. "Can you help me figure this out quickly?" is a clear request that doesn't sound demanding. It's a polite way of asking for help in a stressful situation. If you were in a similar situation, you could use these phrases to express how you're feeling while still keeping the conversation productive. Understanding how to balance your emotions with the language you use is a key part of effective communication, and it's something you can develop by listening to real-life situations. In situations where emotions run high, whether it's stress, excitement, or frustration, English speakers often use phrases to manage the conversation, helping them keep it calm and clear. Think about how people tend to say things like, "I'm a little stressed out," or "I'm feeling overwhelmed" when they need help managing a difficult task. These phrases don't just communicate the problem, they also show the emotional state of the speaker. And by hearing these kinds of phrases in real-life conversations, you'll start to internalize them, making it easier to express yourself when you're in similar situations. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about another important aspect of language learning, the ability to adapt and switch between different registers of language. Sometimes, when we're speaking English, we need to adjust the way we talk, depending on who we're speaking to. For example, the way you talk to your close friends will be much different than how you speak to your boss, right? In real life conversations, English speakers constantly switch between formal and informal language, and it can be tricky to know when to use each one. But don't worry. This is another area where listening to real-life stories can really help. Let me explain. The other day, I had a conversation with a friend about a new restaurant that had opened in town. I said, "You've got to check this place out. The food is amazing and the atmosphere is so relaxed. You'll love it." Now, notice the tone and the choice of words. This is a casual conversation, so I'm using relaxed language. "You've got to check this place out" is an informal phrase, and "so relaxed" is a casual description of the atmosphere. It's the kind of language you'd use when talking to a friend, someone you're comfortable with. But just yesterday, I had to talk to a potential business partner about the same restaurant. I said, "I'd highly recommend this restaurant to you. The food is exceptional, and the ambiance creates a very inviting atmosphere for customers." Notice how the tone and word choices have changed. "I'd highly recommend" is more formal than "you've got to check this out," and "exceptional" is a more professional way of saying amazing. These subtle changes in language are crucial, and you'll pick them up by listening to conversations in different settings. Over time, you'll learn how to switch between these different styles of language, which is an important skill to have, especially when you're writing emails, making phone calls, or participating in meetings. But there's something even more interesting here. By listening to stories where people switch between different registers, you'll also begin to understand how context plays a big role in how language is used. For example, in a formal business meeting, you might hear someone say, "We'd like to discuss potential collaborations for the upcoming year," which sounds very professional. But in a casual conversation with a friend, you might hear, "Hey, we should totally work together next year." Both sentences have the same general meaning, but the level of formality is different. When you listen to these shifts in tone and formality in real-life stories, it becomes much easier to understand how to make those shifts yourself. Whether you're talking to a colleague, a friend, or a stranger, knowing how to adjust your language appropriately is a key part of sounding confident and fluent in English. Another area where real-life stories help is in expressing your opinions, clearly and confidently. Have you ever found it hard to express your thoughts in English, especially when you're discussing something you're passionate about? Whether it's a political issue, a new trend, or a personal belief, expressing opinions in a second language can be difficult. But when you listen to native speakers share their opinions, you get to hear exactly how they structure their thoughts, how they introduce their viewpoints, and how they respond when others disagree. Take this situation from my own life. I was discussing a new movie with a friend who had a different opinion than I did. I said, "I totally get why you feel that way, but personally, I think the movie's pacing was a bit slow in the middle. I just couldn't stay engaged for some parts." Notice how I started by acknowledging my friend's point of view. I totally get why you feel that way. This is a polite and respectful way to acknowledge someone's opinion, which is important in any discussion. Then, I introduced my own opinion by saying, "Personally, I think..." This is a great phrase to use when sharing your own thoughts, as it shows that you're speaking from your perspective. And finally, I explained my reasoning. The movie's pacing was a bit slow. This is how you support your opinion with clear, understandable points. By listening to these types of exchanges in real-life stories, you'll start to notice the language patterns used to express opinions. Whether you're agreeing, disagreeing, or offering your own perspective, there's a certain way to do it that sounds both natural and confident. Over time, as you listen to more of these conversations, you'll start using these phrases in your own discussions, making your spoken and written English sound more polished and confident. So, as we've seen throughout this episode, real-life stories are powerful tools for improving your English. They expose you to the kind of language used in everyday situations, helping you understand how to express yourself more naturally and confidently. From dealing with emotions, to switching between different registers of language, to expressing opinions, the real-life examples I've shared are just a small glimpse of the kinds of situations you'll encounter as you improve your listening and writing skills. The more you listen to these stories, the more you'll absorb the natural rhythm and flow of English, making it easier to communicate effectively in a wide range of settings. Understanding English through real-life stories is like immersing yourself in the heart of the language. The beauty of this approach lies in how effortlessly you begin to absorb not just vocabulary and grammar, but also the subtle nuances of tone, expression, and cultural context. When you hear how people navigate real situations, you start to pick up on patterns and expressions that textbooks and formal lessons often miss. This is where storytelling becomes a tool not just for learning, but for transforming how you approach the language. Let's dive deeper into a few more real-life scenarios that can enhance your comprehension and expression skills. Think about navigating a social event where you don't know many people. The language used in these situations is often a mix of small talk, polite inquiries, and casual banter. When I first moved to a new city, I attended a networking event where I didn't know anyone. It was a little daunting, but it turned out to be an incredible opportunity to practice conversational English in a natural setting. I introduced myself to someone and said, "Hi, I'm Lucy. I just moved here and thought this event would be a great way to meet new people. How about you? What brings you here tonight?" Notice how this simple introduction covers a lot of ground. First, it gives a bit of personal information. "I just moved here," which invites the other person to respond with something similar. Then the question, "What brings you here tonight?" opens the conversation and encourages the other person to share their story. These are the kinds of phrases you'll hear often in real-life interactions, and the more you listen to them, the more natural they'll feel when you use them yourself. As the evening went on, I had to adapt my language depending on who I was talking to. For example, when I spoke to someone older and more experienced in their career, I kept my language more formal. I said, "It's fascinating to hear about your work in the tech industry. How long have you been involved in this field?" But when I spoke to someone closer to my age, my tone became more relaxed, and I said, "Wow, that's cool that you work in tech. What kind of stuff do you work on?" Both sentences serve the same purpose, showing interest in the other person's career, but the level of formality changes based on the context. This kind of flexibility is essential for sounding natural in English. Listening to how native speakers adjust their language in different situations will help you develop the instinct to do the same. Now, let's talk about a situation where storytelling itself becomes the focus. Sharing personal anecdotes is one of the most engaging ways to connect with others, and it's also a fantastic way to practice your English. When you share a story, you're not just reciting events, you're bringing them to life with details, emotions, and dialogue. For example, one of my favorite stories to share is about a time I completely embarrassed myself in a coffee shop. It was a rainy Saturday morning, and I decided to treat myself to a fancy coffee. I walked into this trendy cafe, glanced at the menu, and confidently ordered what I thought was a sophisticated drink. "I'll have a caramel macchiato, extra foam, with almond milk." The barista gave me a strange look but didn't say anything. A few minutes later, he handed me my drink, and I took a big sip, only to realize it tasted nothing like what I expected. I had accidentally ordered the wrong drink. Embarrassed, I laughed and said, "Well, I guess I'm trying something new today." When I share this story, I use phrases like, "I decided to treat myself," and "I guess I'm trying something new today," which are common in everyday English. These kinds of expressions make the story feel more relatable and engaging. By listening to stories like this, you'll learn how to use conversational phrases that bring your own stories to life, making them more vivid and enjoyable for your listeners. Another important skill you can develop through real-life stories is understanding how to handle misunderstandings or awkward moments in conversations. These situations happen to everyone, and knowing how to navigate them gracefully is a valuable skill. For instance, I once had a moment where I misunderstood someone's question during a meeting. They asked, "What's your take on the current strategy?" But I thought they were asking for a detailed explanation of the strategy itself. I started explaining the steps of the strategy, only to realize midway that I had misunderstood. I paused and said, "Oh, I see what you mean now. You're asking for my opinion on it. I think the strategy has potential, but it might need some adjustments in certain areas." What's important here is how I handled the misunderstanding. Instead of panicking, I acknowledged the mistake. "Oh, I see what you mean now," and then corrected it. This kind of language is incredibly useful in professional and social settings. Listening to stories where people navigate similar situations will give you the tools you need to handle misunderstandings with confidence. Let's shift to another practical scenario, giving directions or instructions. Imagine you're helping a tourist who's lost in your city. This is a situation where clarity is key, and the language you use needs to be simple and direct. A few weeks ago, I was walking in the park when someone stopped me and asked, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the main library?" I smiled and said, "Of course, just keep walking straight until you see the big fountain. The library is right behind it. You can't miss it." Notice how the directions are clear and easy to follow. "Just keep walking straight," and "the library is right behind it" are phrases that leave no room for confusion. Listening to stories where people give directions or instructions will help you learn how to simplify your language and make it more accessible, which is a valuable skill in any situation. Finally, let's talk about handling feedback or criticism. This is a situation where language plays a big role in how the message is received. I remember a time when I received some tough feedback from a professor in college. He said, "Your argument is strong, but the organization of your essay needs improvement." Try to structure your points more clearly so that your ideas flow better. While it wasn't easy to hear, the feedback was constructive and gave me specific steps to improve. When giving feedback, notice how phrases like, "your argument is strong," and "needs improvement" are used to balance positive and critical comments. Listening to how people give and receive feedback in real-life stories will teach you how to approach these situations diplomatically, making you a more effective communicator. By diving into real-life stories, you're not just learning English, you're learning how to use it in the situations that matter most. Whether it's small talk, storytelling, handling misunderstandings, or giving feedback, these stories offer a window into how English works in the real world. The more you listen, the more you'll pick up on the rhythms and patterns of natural speech, helping you sound more fluent and confident in any context. As you continue to engage with real-life stories, you'll begin to notice patterns in how native speakers structure their thoughts and express themselves. The key to fluency isn't just about memorizing vocabulary and grammar rules, but about developing an intuitive sense of how the language works in practice. Real-life stories offer a fantastic way to learn this, as they present language in action, where you can see how words, tone, and body language come together to create meaning. For example, when you listen to someone share a personal experience, you start to observe how they use intonation to emphasize certain parts of the story. Imagine you're hearing a friend recount a time when they lost their wallet on a trip. The way they tell the story might go something like this. "I had just gotten off the bus when I realized I couldn't find my wallet. I searched everywhere, but I couldn't remember the last time I saw it." The pauses and emphasis on "I couldn't find my wallet" convey the stress and urgency of the situation. This is an essential aspect of language that you won't find in a textbook, but once you start paying attention to these subtleties, it'll become easier for you to replicate in your own speech. Listening to real-life stories like this also helps you understand the context in which certain phrases or expressions are used. For instance, in a situation where someone is recounting a personal loss or disappointment, they might say, "That was one of the worst days of my life." This phrase, while simple, carries deep emotional weight and is used in a context that conveys the gravity of the situation. It's not just the words that matter, but how and when they are used. As you continue to listen, you'll notice similar phrases used to express different emotions, whether it's frustration, joy, or surprise. Another aspect of real-life stories is how they often include unexpected twists or challenges. These unexpected elements are an important part of communication because they mimic the unpredictability of everyday life. Take, for example, a story about a spontaneous road trip. A person might start by saying, "It was supposed to be a quick trip, just a couple of hours to the beach," but then they'll describe how things went off course. "We ended up taking the wrong exit and ended up in the middle of nowhere." Here, the twist, the wrong exit, adds a layer of surprise and humor to the story. This type of storytelling often incorporates humor or a lesson learned, and it's something you'll encounter regularly in conversations. Listening to how these twists are introduced can help you sound more natural and engaging when telling your own stories. In the workplace, storytelling can also be a powerful tool for building relationships and creating connections. For instance, imagine you're attending a team meeting and someone shares a story about a challenging project they worked on. They might say, "It was a huge project, and at first I didn't think we'd be able to pull it off. But we worked together, stayed focused, and in the end, we exceeded our clients' expectations." Notice how this story highlights resilience and teamwork, two qualities that are valued in many professional settings. By listening to these kinds of stories, you can learn not only how to narrate your own experiences, but also how to tailor your language to specific contexts, like a professional environment. One of the most valuable skills you can develop through real-life stories is understanding how people navigate different social situations. Consider a scenario where you're attending a dinner party and someone asks, "So, what do you think of the food?" In response, a native speaker might say something like, "Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm pleasantly surprised. The flavors are amazing." The key here is to notice how the speaker keeps their answer polite and positive, even if they weren't completely sure about the food at first. This kind of conversational skill is essential in social interactions, where you may need to express opinions tactfully, especially when dealing with topics like food, fashion, or sensitive issues. Real-life stories are also a great way to learn how to ask questions and keep a conversation flowing naturally. For example, imagine you're listening to someone talk about their recent travels. After they mention the places they visited, you could ask, "What was your favorite part of the trip?" Or, "How did you manage to navigate the language barrier?" These kinds of questions show that you're engaged and interested in the conversation while also keeping the flow going. The more you listen to stories and conversations, the more you'll develop an instinct for asking the right questions at the right time, which is a crucial skill for any level of fluency. Additionally, real-life stories offer a rich source of idiomatic expressions and colloquial language. Take, for example, a story about a time someone had a bad experience with a service. "I don't know what happened, but the whole experience was a disaster. The waiter was rude, and the food took forever to arrive." The phrase, "the whole experience was a disaster," is an idiomatic way of expressing frustration, and "took forever" is a colloquial expression that makes the story feel more genuine and relatable. These expressions are often hard to learn from textbooks, but when you hear them in context, you begin to internalize them, making it easier to use them in your own conversations. Moreover, listening to real-life stories allows you to understand how emotions are conveyed through language. Whether it's excitement, sadness, or frustration, you can hear how native speakers adjust their language to match their emotions. For instance, a person might say, "I couldn't believe it. I had been waiting for this opportunity for years, and finally, it was happening." The excitement is clear through the words, "I couldn't believe it," and finally, it was happening. Understanding how emotions influence language use will help you sound more natural when expressing your own feelings in English, whether in a casual chat or a more formal setting. In conversations, there are also moments of silence, pauses, and moments of reflection that are crucial to understanding the flow of a story. Imagine you're listening to someone recount a difficult experience. "It was a tough time for me. I had just lost my job and everything seemed uncertain." Notice how the pause, "It was a tough time for me," builds suspense and invites the listener to pay attention. These pauses help to convey the weight of the moment and allow the speaker to gather their thoughts. Recognizing these pauses in real-life stories will help you understand the emotional pacing of a conversation and improve your listening comprehension. Another important aspect of real-life stories is how they reflect different cultural norms and expectations. For example, when telling a story about a family gathering, a person might include phrases like, "We're a close-knit family, so we all pitch in when it's time to clean up after dinner." This not only shows the importance of family, but also reflects cultural values around cooperation and sharing responsibilities. Listening to stories from different cultural contexts will broaden your understanding of the language, allowing you to use it more effectively in different cultural settings. Finally, storytelling offers a chance to practice your English comprehension and writing skills simultaneously. When you listen to a story, you're not just engaging with the spoken word, you're also learning how to organize your thoughts and present them coherently when you share your own stories. As you become more familiar with the structure and flow of real-life stories, you'll find that your writing skills improve as well, especially when it comes to structuring essays, emails, and even creative pieces. This process is not only about learning words and phrases. It's about learning the rhythm and patterns of natural, everyday communication. Through listening to and analyzing real-life stories, you gain insight into how people use language in all its complexity, how they navigate emotions, social expectations, and real-world challenges. As you continue practicing and incorporating these lessons into your own speaking and writing, you'll notice your confidence in English soar, whether you're having a conversation with friends, giving a presentation at work, or writing an essay for class. Let's dive into these real-life scenarios and see how they can shape your English learning experience. We'll explore how to talk about your dream vacation, the challenges of moving to a new country, setting goals for the new year, and gaining insights into the U.S. education system, all through real-life stories and conversations. Planning your dream vacation. When you think about planning your dream vacation, there are so many exciting moments. Imagine talking to your friend about a trip you're hoping to take. You might say, "I've been dreaming of going to Japan for years. The culture, the food, the landscapes, it's just a dream come true." This phrase captures the excitement and anticipation that comes with planning a vacation. In conversations, you'll also hear people mention the logistics. "I need to figure out my travel dates and book flights soon." Or, "I've been looking into accommodations. I think I want to stay in an Airbnb near the beach." These phrases highlight how planning a trip involves a mix of excitement and practicality. You might also hear someone express their budget concerns. "I really want to visit all the tourist spots, but I need to be careful with my spending." Notice how the balance between excitement and practical considerations is key to planning a vacation. These kinds of conversations are full of useful expressions, like, "I've been dreaming of," "I need to figure out," or "I want to visit." These phrases help you sound like a fluent speaker when talking about travel. Moving to a new country. Now, let's talk about the challenges and experiences of moving to a new country. Imagine someone who has just relocated to the U.S. sharing their experience. They might say, "When I first moved here, I was overwhelmed. I had to learn everything from scratch. How to use public transportation, where to shop for groceries, and even how to navigate the healthcare system." You can hear the sense of challenge and change in the phrasing, especially when they say, "I was overwhelmed," or "I had to learn everything from scratch." The reality of moving to a new country is filled with hurdles, and real-life stories help you understand those challenges through expressions like, "I'm still getting used to," or "It's been difficult, but I'm adjusting." You might also hear someone reflect on the emotional side of moving. "There were times when I felt really homesick, but I've started to build a new support system here." This phrase, "feeling homesick," is common when talking about missing home, and building a support system is often used when people talk about making new friends or getting help from others. Conversations like these offer valuable insights into how to express emotions and experiences when adjusting to a new life. New Year resolutions. Next, let's explore setting and discussing goals for the new year. Imagine talking to a friend about your resolutions. "This year, I really want to focus on getting in shape and eating healthier. I've already started working out 3 times a week, and I feel great." In this conversation, the phrase, "I want to focus on," shows intention, and "I've already started" signals that the action has begun. These kinds of phrases are used to share progress and motivation, which are often part of New Year resolutions. Someone else might share their resolution by saying, "I've decided to learn a new language this year. I know it's going to be challenging, but I'm committed to it." Here, the phrase, "I've decided to," indicates a firm commitment, and "I'm committed to it" adds a sense of determination and willpower. Discussing goals often leads to reflecting on past experiences, like, "Last year, I didn't stick to my resolutions, but this year, I'm taking it seriously." This kind of reflection helps convey both personal growth and the challenges that come with making resolutions. The way people talk about their resolutions gives you insights into how they express ambition, struggles, and hope for the future. Understanding American universities. Finally, let's look at the U.S. education system and what it's like for students. If someone is talking about their experience at an American university, they might start with, "At first, I was shocked by how much freedom students have here. Unlike my home country, where the professors have more control over the class, here you're expected to take initiative and manage your time well." Notice how the speaker contrasts their experience, using phrases like, "At first, I was shocked," and "unlike my home country." These phrases show the differences between systems and express surprise or realization. Another student might say, "The workload is intense, but I've learned how to balance studying with social activities. You just have to stay on top of things." This is an example of how students in American universities often discuss time management and finding balance. You'll also hear about the social aspects. "I've met so many people from different countries, and we've started a study group. It's been really helpful." The phrase, "I've met so many people," highlights the social connections that are so important in university life, and "started a study group" reflects the collaborative nature of American education. Through these conversations, you begin to see the cultural and educational differences, as well as the vocabulary and expressions used by students. You might hear someone share their frustration. "I don't know how people manage their time. It's so overwhelming sometimes," which shows the stress students often feel. Or they might express excitement about opportunities, saying, "The best part is all the opportunities you get to network with people in your field." These expressions help you understand both the academic and social life in American universities. By listening to real-life stories in these areas, whether it's about vacation plans, moving to a new country, setting New Year's resolutions, or navigating American universities, you're learning how to express emotions, goals, and challenges in real-time conversations. These expressions and phrases aren't just useful for building your vocabulary, they also help you sound more natural and confident in any conversation, whether you're planning a trip, talking about life changes, or discussing your future goals. The more you listen to these types of stories and conversations, the more you'll internalize the rhythms of natural speech, helping you improve both your listening and writing skills. You'll notice that over time, you'll begin to use these phrases and structures in your own life, making your English more fluent and authentic. And it's this kind of practical, real-world application of language that will take your English skills to the next level. Let's keep this conversation flowing and dive deeper into more fascinating real-life scenarios that will enhance your listening skills and give you an opportunity to absorb authentic English in various contexts. Career changes and job opportunities. Let's explore career changes and job opportunities. People often face big decisions when it comes to switching careers, and those decisions are filled with excitement, uncertainty, and sometimes regret. Imagine someone telling their story about changing careers. "I was in my last job for 5 years, but I just couldn't see myself doing it forever. I wanted something more creative, so I finally took the leap and started looking into graphic design." When people talk about career changes, they often use expressions like, "I took the leap," or "I just couldn't see myself doing it forever." These phrases capture both the fear and the excitement of making a big change. You might also hear people reflect on their past experiences, like, "I never thought I'd leave my old job, but once I started learning new skills, I realized I could do something different." Conversations like this are filled with expressions about personal growth, decision-making, and the lessons people learn along the way. For example, "I've learned so much in these first few months in my new role," or "I'm still adjusting to the different work culture, but it's been great so far." These phrases show how people express their challenges and triumphs when starting a new career. Health and fitness goals. Now, let's switch gears and talk about health and fitness. Setting goals to live a healthier lifestyle is a topic that comes up in almost every conversation around this time of year. People might start by saying, "I've been trying to improve my health, so I've started eating more vegetables and cutting back on sugar." These conversations are full of useful language for talking about habits and routines. You might also hear someone explain their fitness goals by saying, "I'm aiming to run a 5K this summer, so I've been working out regularly." These kinds of discussions often include the word aiming, which helps express intention. People also use phrases like, "I've been trying," or "I've started," to show ongoing effort or the beginning of a new habit. As people talk about their fitness routines, they may reflect on their past habits. "Before, I never had the energy to work out, but now I feel so much better since I've changed my diet." This reflection is important because it shows how people assess their progress and motivate themselves to keep going. You'll hear them talk about setbacks too. "There were days when I felt discouraged, but I didn't give up." These expressions help build a richer vocabulary for discussing challenges and progress in personal health. Starting a new business. Next up, let's talk about entrepreneurship. Starting a new business. This is something that many people dream of doing, but it comes with its own set of challenges. Imagine someone who has just started their own online business. "It wasn't easy at first. I had to learn everything on my own. How to set up a website, create marketing materials, and even manage customer service." You'll notice phrases like, "It wasn't easy at first," or "I had to learn everything on my own," which show the struggle and learning process involved in starting a new venture. People also use phrases like, "I'm excited about the future of my business," to express optimism and enthusiasm. As people discuss their entrepreneurial journeys, they often talk about the difficulties they face. "I've had to deal with a lot of rejection, but I'm still going strong." Or they may discuss moments of success, such as, "When I got my first sale, it felt amazing. It made all the hard work worth it." These expressions give insight into the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship, with its highs and lows, and will help you improve your ability to listen to stories about business ventures and personal development. Volunteering and giving. Back volunteering is another topic that often comes up in casual conversations. People who volunteer usually have powerful stories about their experiences. "I've been volunteering at a local shelter for the past few months. It's been such a rewarding experience. It's amazing to see how small acts of kindness can really make a difference in people's lives." Here, the word rewarding is often used to describe something that gives a sense of personal fulfillment. People also share the challenges they face. "There are days when it's emotionally draining, but I keep going because I know I'm making a positive impact." These phrases like emotionally draining or making a positive impact show the deeper emotions tied to volunteering. Someone else might say, "I've learned a lot about myself through volunteering. It's opened my eyes to a whole new world." This reflection helps people realize how giving back to the community can change their perspective and even help them develop new skills. Through these kinds of conversations, you can hear the expressions people use to talk about their sense of responsibility, fulfillment, and the value of helping others. Family relationships and personal growth. Let's talk about family relationships and personal growth. Family conversations are rich with vocabulary related to emotions and life experiences. People often discuss the highs and lows of family life. "My relationship with my parents has always been complicated, but lately I've been trying to be more patient with them." In family conversations, you hear a lot of reflective phrases like, "I've been trying," or "I'm learning to." These phrases show growth and self-awareness. You might also hear someone say, "I've learned so much from my kids. They've taught me to appreciate the small things in life." Family discussions often bring out emotions and personal insights with phrases like "complicated relationship" or "I'm learning to be more patient." People may also talk about family milestones. "My sister just got married, and it's been a huge moment for all of us." When people talk about significant moments in their family's lives, they often use expressions like "a huge moment" or "it's been a game changer." These conversations provide excellent practice for listening to how people describe their connections with loved ones and their ongoing personal development. Technology and social media technology is constantly evolving, and it's a topic that generates a lot of interesting conversations. Imagine someone talking about their relationship with social media. I used to check my phone constantly, but now I'm trying to be more mindful of how much time I spend on social media. I've set limits for myself. Here, you hear expressions like trying to be more mindful and set limits, which reflect the growing awareness of how technology affects our lives. People also talk about the impact of technology on relationships. It's amazing how social media can bring people together, but at the same time, it can create distance between us. These types of reflections about the role of technology in our lives give you a chance to hear vocabulary related to personal boundaries, digital life, and how we interact with others in the modern world. People also share frustrations, saying things like, "It feels like technology is taking over. I sometimes miss the days when we could just talk face to face without distractions." These kinds of discussions are useful because they give you insight into how technology affects our behavior and how we talk about managing our online presence. Cultural differences and travel experiences. Let's continue with cultural differences and travel experiences, where people reflect on the challenges and joys of experiencing different cultures. I spent 6 months in Italy last year, and it completely changed my perspective on life. The pace of life is slower, and people really value family time. You'll hear phrases like completely changed my perspective or people really value, which show how travel experiences can deeply affect someone's view of the world. You might also hear someone share cultural misunderstandings. I didn't realize that in some cultures, being late is considered disrespectful. I learned that the hard way when I missed a meeting. These kinds of stories give you the chance to hear expressions about personal growth, learning from mistakes, and adapting to new environments. These topics allow you to practice listening to real-life stories in various contexts, helping you improve both your comprehension and vocabulary. By hearing how people talk about their experiences, challenges, and goals in these situations, you'll naturally learn to incorporate these expressions into your own English skills. Let's continue building on these themes with even more real-life situations that will challenge and engage your listening skills. Each new topic will expand your understanding of natural English conversations, introducing you to a wide variety of expressions used by native speakers. Managing stress and mental health. Managing stress and mental health is something that everyone experiences, but people often express it in different ways. When discussing stress, someone might say, "I've been feeling really overwhelmed at work lately. It's hard to keep up with everything, and I just don't have the energy to deal with it all." These types of phrases show how stress can affect a person's day-to-day life, and it's important to note how people talk about their coping mechanisms. They might explain how they deal with stress. "I've started meditating, and it really helps me clear my mind. It's become a part of my daily routine now." In conversations about mental health, people often talk about how they feel and the changes they've made. I used to avoid talking about my feelings, but now I'm more open with my friends about what I'm going through. By listening to these conversations, you can hear real-life examples of how people express their emotions, ask for help, and seek support from their loved ones. Sometimes, people discuss the mental health challenges they face in their careers. There was a time when I felt like I was burning out at work. It took a toll on me, and I realized I needed to take a step back and reevaluate my priorities. This type of reflection is common when someone talks about overcoming personal struggles. You'll hear phrases like burning out or taking a step back, which convey a sense of fatigue and the need to reassess their situation. Mental health discussions often focus on the importance of self-care. I've learned that it's okay to say no sometimes and take a break. It's about finding balance in your life. Overcoming failure and learning from mistakes failure is a part of life that everyone experiences at some point. However, it's how we respond to failure that often shapes our future success. When discussing failure, people might share their stories of setbacks, saying things like, "I failed my first attempt at starting a business, but that failure taught me valuable lessons." These kinds of reflections help people learn from their mistakes, and you'll hear phrases such as valuable lessons or it taught me. Others might talk about their fear of failure. "I used to be terrified of failing, but now I see failure as an opportunity to grow." The word terrified captures the emotional response someone has when faced with failure, while opportunity to grow shows a positive mindset towards challenges. As people reflect on their failures, they often share the changes they've made in their mindset. "I've learned to approach failure with a growth mindset. Instead of seeing it as a negative experience, I try to see what I can learn from it." This focus on learning from failure is a common theme in conversations about personal growth. You might also hear someone say, "It wasn't easy, but I didn't give up. I knew that failure wasn't the end. It was just part of the process." Phrases like, "I didn't give up," or "it was just part of the process," show how people persevere through difficult times and eventually succeed. Friendship and building relationships. Friendships are an essential part of life, and people often share stories about how their friendships have evolved over the years. I've known Sarah for years, and even though we don't see each other as often as we used to, our bond is still as strong as ever. This phrase highlights how long-term friendships endure despite changes in circumstances. As people talk about their friendships, they may share memories from the past. "We met in high school and instantly clicked. We've been through so much together, and I'm grateful for our friendship." These phrases like "we instantly clicked" or "we've been through so much together" show the deep connections people form over time. In contrast, people might also talk about drifting apart from old friends. "I haven't spoken to my childhood friend in years. We grew apart because our lives went in different directions." Phrases like "grew apart" or "went in different directions" express how relationships change over time. Building new relationships also comes up in conversations. "I recently moved to a new city, and I've been trying to meet new people. It's been a challenge, but I've made some great friends." This reflects the excitement and difficulty of starting fresh in a new environment. People also talk about the qualities they value in friends. "I value honesty above all else in a friendship. If someone can't be honest with me, I don't think the friendship will last." These reflections help us understand the importance of trust and shared values in lasting friendships. Parenting and raising children. Parenting is a topic that generates a lot of deep and meaningful conversations. Parents often share the joys and struggles of raising children. "I never knew how hard parenting would be until I had my own kids. There are days when I feel completely exhausted, but when my child hugs me, it makes it all worth it." Phrases like "exhausted" or "it makes it all worth it" express the emotional roller coaster of being a parent. Parents often reflect on their parenting journey. "I've learned that I don't always have to be perfect. I just need to be there for my kids and show them love and support." These kinds of statements show how parents prioritize emotional connections and growth over perfection. You might also hear people talk about the challenges they face with discipline. Sometimes it's hard to find the right balance between being strict and being understanding. "I want my kids to learn from their mistakes, but I also want to be supportive." This type of dialogue helps listeners understand the internal struggles parents face while trying to raise their children in the best way possible. Career advancement and professional development. When discussing career advancement, people often share their personal goals and the steps they're taking to achieve them. "I've been working hard to get a promotion at work. It's been a lot of extra hours and effort, but I think I'm finally on the right track." These phrases like working hard or on the right track reflect the determination and commitment required to advance in one's career. People also talk about the skills they're developing to get ahead. I've been taking online courses to improve my leadership skills, and I'm starting to see the results in my work. Phrases like starting to see the results or developing my leadership skills show the tangible progress people make as they strive for success. At times, people might reflect on the challenges they've faced in their careers. I've had to deal with office politics and tough competition, but I've learned to stay focused on my goals. This expression shows the resilience needed to navigate a challenging work environment. Others might discuss their career aspirations. I'm aiming for a leadership role in the next few years, but I know it's going to take a lot of hard work and patience. This kind of goal setting is common in career-related conversations, and it reflects the ambition and patience necessary for career growth. Exploring new hobbies and personal interests. Finally, let's talk about exploring new hobbies and personal interests. People often share their excitement about picking up new activities. I've recently gotten into photography. I love how it allows me to capture special moments and see the world in a different way. These kinds of stories often reflect the joy and discovery that comes with learning something new. You'll hear expressions like, I love how, or it allows me to, which show a personal connection to the new hobby. As people discuss their hobbies, they might mention the challenges they face when starting something new. I'm still learning the basics of photography, but I've already seen some improvement. This reflects the patience and persistence needed when taking up a new hobby. Similarly, people might discuss hobbies they've always wanted to try, but never had the chance. I've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, but I never had the time. This year, I'm finally making it a priority. These phrases show how people set goals for themselves and take action towards pursuing their interests. These diverse topics will not only help you improve your listening comprehension, but also provide a window into how people discuss their personal experiences, challenges, and growth in everyday conversations. By listening to these real-life stories, you'll become more comfortable with complex phrases, idioms, and expressions commonly used by native speakers. Each topic offers a chance to hear natural English, which will ultimately enhance your ability to understand and speak English in real-life situations. Exploring cultural differences. Cultural differences often lead to fascinating conversations. For instance, if someone has moved to a new country, they might share their experiences of adapting to a different culture. When I first moved to the UK, I was surprised by how different the food culture was. People eat lighter meals and drink tea in the afternoon, something I wasn't used to at all. These conversations often express how people notice and react to different customs, even down to something as simple as eating habits. You might also hear someone discussing cultural differences in socializing. Back home, people tend to be more reserved when meeting new people, but here, it's very common for strangers to start chatting in line at the supermarket. This kind of dialogue highlights the unexpected ways in which people adjust to new social norms and behaviors in a foreign environment. Another example could be how someone adapts to different holidays and traditions. I've never celebrated Christmas the way people do here. The first time I joined a family for a Christmas dinner, I didn't realize that everyone was supposed to bring a dish. I had to run to the store last minute and pick something up. These reflections show how people laugh about misunderstandings and how cultural traditions shape social interactions. Discussions about cultural differences often involve humor and misunderstandings, and these moments help learners understand how to navigate such situations with respect and curiosity. The changing landscape of work in today's world. The nature of work is constantly evolving. The way people talk about their careers and professional growth is becoming more diverse as new trends, technology, and remote work emerge. People are discussing things like flexible working hours or how to adjust to working from home. At first, Working from home was difficult because I missed the social interaction with my coworkers. But over time, I realized how much more productive I am when I'm in my own space. These conversations reflect the growing shift in the workplace and how it affects people's work-life balance. Some might even share their experiences of managing remote teams. Managing a remote team can be tricky. I had to learn how to communicate clearly and check in with everyone regularly, especially since we're all in different time zones. These insights will help you understand how work culture is changing and how people adapt to these new dynamics. Another common topic is job satisfaction and how people are looking for more purpose in their careers. I used to work in an office, job that didn't really excite me. But now I've started a new project that's more aligned with my interests, and I feel much more motivated every day. Conversations about job fulfillment often focus on how people connect their work to their values, as well as the challenges they face in finding a career that excites them. Some might even discuss burnout and how they deal with stress. After a few years in the industry, I started feeling like I was on the edge of burnout. I had to take some time off and reevaluate what was important to me. These discussions help learners understand the emotional and psychological impact work can have and the importance of self-care and reflection in one's career. Traveling on a budget, another common topic that will be useful for improving listening comprehension, is traveling on a budget. Many people share tips and tricks for saving money while exploring new destinations. I've learned that traveling doesn't have to be expensive. You can save so much money just by booking your flights in advance and choosing accommodations that are a little outside the main tourist areas. These conversations often involve sharing practical advice and suggestions that make travel more affordable. People might also discuss the challenges of finding budget-friendly options. I've been trying to find cheap places to eat while I travel. Sometimes it's hard to find the balance between cheap and good quality, but it's definitely possible if you do your research. Phrases like "do your research" or "balance between cheap and good quality" are commonly used in discussions about planning an affordable trip. When talking about budget travel, some people also reflect on their experiences staying in hostels or with locals. I've stayed in hostels on my trips before, and while it can be a bit noisy, it's a great way to meet people and save money. I've also used couch surfing to stay with locals, which makes the experience so much richer. These conversations often provide insights into alternative ways of traveling, highlighting the flexibility and creativity required to stick to a budget. Many people also discuss how they pack to save on luggage fees. I always try to pack light to avoid baggage fees. I only take the essentials, and it's amazing how much you can fit in a small backpack if you plan properly. This practical advice helps learners improve their listening comprehension by exposing them to common travel-related expressions. Coping with life's unexpected events. Life is full of unexpected events, and people often share their strategies for coping with adversity. For example, someone might talk about how they handled a sudden job loss. When I lost my job, I felt like my world was falling apart, but I decided to take a step back, take a deep breath, and start looking for new opportunities. Phrases like "my world was falling apart" or "take a step back" are often used to convey the emotional impact of major life changes. People might also talk about how they turned a negative situation into a positive one. After losing my job, I realized that I had been wanting to make a career change for years. This gave me the push I needed to follow my passion. This type of positive thinking is common in discussions about overcoming difficult times. It shows how individuals turn challenges into learning opportunities. Sometimes, conversations also revolve around how people cope with illness or loss. When my father passed away, I felt completely lost. It took me a long time to get back on my feet, but I learned to lean on my friends for support. These conversations often express the emotional depth people feel when going through tough times. They also show how people navigate grief and find ways to heal. Another example could be someone discussing how they adapted to a health condition. I was diagnosed with a chronic illness, and at first, I didn't know how to cope. But over time, I've learned to manage it and still live a full life. Phrases like, I didn't know how to cope, or learn to manage it, show how people adjust to and find strength in the face of adversity, volunteering, and making a difference. Many people also talk about how they contribute to their communities or make a positive impact in the world. I've been volunteering at a local food bank for the past year, and it's been such a rewarding experience. Helping others gives me a sense of purpose, and I've learned so much about different people's lives. These types of conversations highlight the personal satisfaction people get from volunteering and the connections they make with others. People might also discuss the challenges of finding time to volunteer while balancing other commitments. It's tough to find the time to volunteer with my busy schedule, but I try to dedicate a few hours every weekend. It's amazing how much of a difference just a small amount of time can make. This reflects how people manage their time and prioritize giving back to their communities. In conversations about volunteering, some may discuss the emotional impact it has on them. When I helped out at the shelter, I felt a sense of fulfillment that I don't get from my day job. It's like I'm making a real difference in people's lives. These types of reflections showcase the importance of contributing to others and how it enriches one's own life. Listening to these conversations will not only improve your listening comprehension, but also expose you to the vocabulary and expressions people use when talking about selflessness, community, and compassion, social media, and digital life. Social media has become a huge part of many people's lives, and it often comes up in conversations. People share their experiences with different platforms. I've been on Instagram for years, but lately, I've been getting tired of all the sponsored posts. It feels like it's all about selling something rather than sharing real content. This type of statement shows how people are becoming more critical of the content they consume online. Others might share how they've used social media to connect with old friends. I reconnected with an old friend on Facebook last year, and it was so nice to catch up after all these years. Conversations about social media also reflect how people manage their online presence. I've started being more mindful about what I post online. I don't want to overshare or put too much of my personal life out there. These types of discussions give insight into the modern-day challenges of navigating online spaces and the balance between privacy and connection. Listening to these conversations will expose you to the different ways people engage with social media, their thoughts on privacy, and how they manage the digital world. Each new conversation builds upon your listening skills, helping you understand complex sentence structures and natural speech patterns that are essential for real-life communication. The more you immerse yourself in these real-life discussions, the better equipped you will be to understand and use English in diverse situations, whether it's for personal development, social interactions, or professional growth. By keeping up with a variety of topics, you're constantly expanding your vocabulary, refining your comprehension, and learning how to express yourself with more fluency and confidence. Let's continue exploring more engaging topics and real-life situations that will not only help you improve your listening skills, but also give you valuable insights into how native speakers communicate naturally in everyday scenarios. These conversations will provide you with different perspectives on various aspects of life, making it easier for you to understand English as it's used in different contexts. Challenges in learning a new language. Learning a new language is a topic that comes up in many conversations, especially as people share their struggles and successes with acquiring new skills. For example, you might hear someone reflecting on their language learning journey. I've been trying to learn Spanish for the past year, but it's really tough. I find it hard to remember all the verb conjugations, and sometimes I get frustrated. These types of discussions shed light on the emotional ups and downs of learning a new language. It's common for people to talk about moments of doubt. There are times when I feel like I'm not making any progress, but then I remind myself that every little step counts. These reflections provide both empathy and encouragement for language learners, showing how perseverance plays a key role in the process. People may also share the strategies they've used to overcome challenges. I started watching movies in Spanish with subtitles, which really helped me get used to the rhythm of the language. It's funny how much you can pick up just by listening. These conversations demonstrate the importance of immersion and practical learning methods that help language learners move beyond textbook knowledge. Some people might also talk about the joy of connecting with native speakers. The first time I had a conversation in Spanish with a native speaker, I was so nervous. But once we started talking, I realized that all my practice had paid off. This gives insight into the real-life benefits of language learning, how it opens up new opportunities for communication and connection. Digital nomad lifestyle. As more people work remotely, the concept of being a digital nomad has become increasingly popular. These are individuals who can work from anywhere in the world, as long as they have an internet connection. I decided to become a digital nomad because I wanted to travel while still earning a living. I've been living in Bali for the past 3 months, working from cafes and co-working spaces, and I love the freedom it gives me. This lifestyle is often discussed as a way to achieve greater work-life balance and explore new cultures while maintaining a career. The idea of traveling while working can seem appealing, but there are challenges to it too. Sometimes I struggle with isolation. It can be hard not having a regular office environment where you see colleagues every day, but I try to stay connected through video calls and online communities. These types of conversations highlight the pros and cons of this lifestyle, as well as how people adapt to remote work and travel simultaneously. People may also discuss the financial aspects of being a digital nomad. Living in Southeast Asia is way cheaper than living in Europe, so I can afford to live comfortably while saving money. But sometimes I feel guilty for not saving enough for the future. These kinds of reflections provide a deeper understanding of the financial realities and mindset of someone choosing this lifestyle. Others might talk about the excitement of discovering new places. Last weekend, I went hiking in the mountains here, and it was amazing. It's incredible how much you can see when you're not tied down to one place. This sense of adventure and discovery is often a key motivation for digital nomads as they embrace the freedom to explore new destinations while maintaining a flexible work routine. The impact of social media influencers. Social media influencers play a huge role in shaping modern culture, and many people engage in discussions about their influence and impact. I've been following a few travel influencers lately, and it's amazing to see how they're able to travel the world and make a living from it. But sometimes it feels like it's all just about showing off, you know? These kinds of reflections are common as people express mixed feelings about the world of social media influencers. Some admire their success, while others feel that influencers can create unrealistic expectations. I see these influencers posting pictures of their perfect lives, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing enough. But then I remind myself that they're only showing the highlight reel, not the behind-the-scenes struggles. This gives listeners insight into the pressures and perceptions that come with being an influencer, as well as the emotional impact it can have on both the influencer and their audience. Discussions about influencers often involve the influence they have on fashion, beauty, and lifestyle choices. I've bought a few things because I saw them on Instagram, but later realized I didn't really need them. It's crazy how much advertising there is on social media and how easy it is to fall for it. These conversations highlight how influencers shape consumer behavior and opinions, often blurring the lines between personal recommendations and paid advertisements. People might also talk about the ethical side of influencer culture. I don't always agree with the way some influencers promote products. It feels like they're just trying to make money without caring about the impact on their audience. These discussions provide a nuanced perspective on the role of influencers and their responsibility to their followers. Sustainable living and eco-friendly choices. Sustainability and eco-friendly living have become hot topics in recent years. People are looking for ways to reduce their environmental impact, and these conversations often center around lifestyle changes. I started buying more sustainable products last year. At first, it felt like a hassle, but now I can't imagine going back to plastic bags or single-use items. People share their personal journeys towards living more sustainably, whether it's reducing waste, eating plant-based diets, or using renewable energy. It's not always easy to make eco-friendly choices, especially when it's more expensive. But I've realized that small changes can add up, and it's worth it in the long run. These discussions provide practical examples of how people are making a difference in their everyday lives, and they often come with a sense of personal pride. Conversations around sustainable living often delve into topics like zero waste. I started composting at home, and it's made me feel so much better about my waste. I didn't realize how much food I was throwing away until I started composting. People also share their experiences with eco-friendly shopping habits. I try to buy secondhand clothes whenever I can. Not only is it cheaper, but it also reduces waste. Plus, I have found some really unique items. These kinds of exchanges highlight the practical ways people are shifting their consumption patterns to support sustainability, personal growth, and self-improvement. Personal growth is a topic that many people are passionate about. Everyone seems to be looking for ways to improve themselves, whether it's through setting goals, reading self-help books, or learning new skills. I've been working on my personal development for the past year. I've been reading a lot of books about mindfulness and goal setting, and it's made a huge difference in how I approach challenges. These conversations often center around the idea of becoming the best version of oneself. Some might talk about their experience with mindfulness or meditation. I started meditating every morning, and it's really helped me stay calm and focused throughout the day. This kind of practice is often discussed as a tool for managing stress and improving mental health. Others might focus on the importance of setting goals. One of my goals this year is to get more organized. I've started using a planner, and it's amazing how much more productive I feel. These conversations provide insights into the personal challenges people face and how they work toward overcoming them. Personal growth discussions are often filled with motivation and reflection as people share what they've learned and how they continue to evolve. I've learned that growth isn't linear. There are good days and bad days, but what matters is that I keep moving forward. These types of conversations emphasize the importance of persistence and resilience in the journey of self-improvement. By listening to these diverse conversations, you not only improve your listening skills, but also gain a deeper understanding of how people think, express their emotions, and navigate through various life experiences. The more you expose yourself to these real-life situations, the more confident you will become in comprehending natural English speech and engaging in meaningful conversations yourself. As we continue exploring various real-life situations and engaging conversations, let's dive into even more fascinating topics that will give you a deeper understanding of how people communicate naturally in English. These topics will cover a wide range of experiences, thoughts, and feelings, which will not only enhance your listening skills, but also expand your cultural knowledge. By the end, you'll feel more comfortable with natural English speech, whether you're listening for fun, learning, or just curious about how people express themselves. Working in a multicultural environment, in today's globalized world, many people find themselves working in diverse environments, surrounded by colleagues from different countries and cultures. Conversations in such settings can be rich and varied, as people share their experiences of adapting to new workplaces and collaborating across cultural boundaries. It was a challenge at first when I started working with people from different parts of the world. In my last job, We had a team from 5 different countries, and each of us had our own way of doing things. But it was such a rewarding experience to learn from each other. These reflections highlight the complexities and rewards of working in multicultural teams. I've learned that being open-minded and flexible is key when it comes to communicating. In a diverse team, it can be tricky at times, especially when there's a language barrier, but we all try to find common ground. In such environments, there are often discussions about the value of diversity and how it can lead to more creative solutions. Having colleagues from different backgrounds means we bring different perspectives to the table, which often leads to better problem solving. It can be hard to navigate sometimes, but it makes our work more dynamic. These types of conversations reflect the positive aspects of diversity in the workplace and how it fosters innovation. However, there are also challenges, like adjusting to different communication styles. In my first multicultural team, I realized that not everyone is comfortable with direct feedback. In some cultures, people prefer to communicate more indirectly, which was something I had to get used to. The role of technology in modern relationships. Another fascinating topic people often discuss is how technology is reshaping relationships. In today's world, technology has revolutionized the way we connect with others, from staying in touch with family and friends through video calls to forming romantic relationships online. I've been dating my partner for about 6 months, and we met through a dating app. I never thought I'd find someone that way, but it's actually been amazing. We text and call all the time, and even though we live in different cities, it feels like we're always together. These conversations show how technology is bridging gaps and allowing people to form relationships across long distances. However, there are also concerns and challenges that come with digital relationships. Sometimes I worry that online relationships aren't as genuine as face-to-face ones. I've heard so many stories about people getting catfished or tricked by someone pretending to be someone they're not. These kinds of conversations reflect the anxieties many people feel about online dating or digital communication. But at the same time, there's a growing acceptance of these new forms of connection. I think we're moving towards a future where digital relationships are just as real as in-person ones. We communicate in ways that work for us, and sometimes that's through a screen, and that's okay. Sustainable travel and ecotourism sustainability has become an important theme in travel as more people become aware of the environmental impact of tourism. Ecotourism, which focuses on responsible travel that conserves the environment and benefits local communities, has grown in popularity. I recently went on a hiking trip to the mountains, and it was amazing to see how tourism can be done in a way that protects the environment. The tour guides made sure we didn't leave any trash behind, and they even explained how the local ecosystem was being preserved. These conversations reflect the growing desire for travelers to minimize their impact on the planet while still enjoying their vacations. It was also great to see how tourism can benefit the local communities. The money we spent on our trip went directly into local businesses, which helped improve the quality of life for the people living there. Some travelers also discussed the challenges of sustainable travel, such as balancing eco-friendly choices with convenience. It's not always easy to travel sustainably. Sometimes I have to choose between a flight that's cheaper but less environmentally friendly and a longer journey that's more eco-conscious. But I try to make the right choices when I can. These discussions provide a balanced view of sustainable travel, acknowledging the challenges while emphasizing the importance of making mindful decisions to protect the planet. Career change. Taking the leap, making a career change, is a significant decision that many people face at different points in their lives. Whether it's switching industries, going back to school, or starting a new business, these conversations are full of reflections on risks, rewards, and personal growth. I used to work in finance, but I decided to pursue my passion for photography. It was a big leap, and at first, I was really scared. I had to start from scratch, learning new skills and building a portfolio, but now I'm finally starting to get clients. These stories highlight the courage it takes to leave a stable career and try something completely different. It hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it. The work is challenging, but I'm much happier doing something I love. Others share their experiences of struggling with uncertainty and fear. I thought I had everything figured out, but I realized that my job wasn't fulfilling me anymore. The idea of changing careers was overwhelming, but then I spoke to a few people who had done it, and their stories gave me the confidence to take the leap. These types of conversations provide inspiration for anyone considering a career change, as well as insight into the emotional challenges that often accompany such a decision. Now that I've made the switch, I don't regret it at all. I'm learning every day, and I feel more alive in my work than ever before. Entrepreneurship, starting your own business. Entrepreneurship is another exciting and often challenging topic that people love to discuss. Starting your own business is a dream for many, but it also comes with a lot of hard work and risk. I've always wanted to run my own business, so I finally took the plunge and started a bakery. It's been a roller coaster ride. There are days when I wonder if it was the right decision, but there are also days when I get to see customers enjoying what I've created, and it makes everything worthwhile. These stories reflect the passion and drive behind entrepreneurial ventures, as well as the difficulties entrepreneurs face in building their businesses from the ground up. One of the biggest challenges was managing the finances. It's tough when you're starting out and you're not sure if you're going to make a profit, but over time, things started to come together. Entrepreneurs often share insights about their personal growth. I've learned so much about myself since I started my business. I never thought I was a risk taker, but now I realize that I'm more capable than I ever imagined. I've had to learn to trust myself and take chances. These reflections provide valuable lessons for anyone considering entrepreneurship, highlighting both the highs and the lows. Being an entrepreneur isn't easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. The freedom, the creativity, and the potential to change the world are worth all the challenges. Healthy living and mental wellness. Living a healthy life isn't just about eating the right foods or exercising regularly. It's also about mental wellness. Many people today are focusing on both physical and mental health, acknowledging that they're interconnected. I've been really focused on my mental health lately. I started going to therapy and practicing mindfulness, and it's made such a difference. It's not just about feeling good physically, it's also about being in a good headspace. These conversations reflect the growing importance of mental health and how people are taking steps to improve their emotional and psychological well-being. I've also started doing yoga every morning. It's a great way to start the day and clear my mind before I get to work. As part of a healthy lifestyle, people also talk about their diet and exercise habits. I'm trying to eat more plant-based foods. It's been tough, but I feel so much better. I have more energy, and I'm sleeping better too. These conversations provide insight into how people prioritize health and make choices that support both their body and mind. It's all about balance. I'm not perfect, but I've realized that small changes add up. I've become more mindful of how I treat my body and my mind, and it's making a big difference in my life. The more you listen to these types of conversations, the better you'll understand how English is used in real-life situations. These topics span a wide range of experiences, from personal growth to career challenges to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Through these stories, you'll gain a richer understanding of how people communicate, express their emotions, and share their perspectives. As you immerse yourself in these real-world conversations, you'll find your listening skills improving, helping you navigate any English conversation with more ease and confidence. As we move forward with more engaging discussions, let's dive into even deeper aspects of life that challenge and inspire us. These stories and reflections will allow you to immerse yourself in real-world English, further enhancing your listening, comprehension, and your ability to understand the complexities of communication in various settings. With each topic, You'll be exposed to new vocabulary and phrases. But more importantly, you'll begin to understand how language is shaped by experiences and emotions in authentic situations. The challenges of starting a family is one of life's most transformative experiences, and the conversations that revolve around it can be filled with both excitement and uncertainty. When we found out we were expecting, it felt like the world was turning upside down. There's so much to prepare for, from setting up a nursery to figuring out our finances. Many people reflect on the life changes that come with becoming a parent. I thought I was ready, but the first few months were harder than I expected. Sleepless nights, constant worry, it's a whole new world. These discussions often reveal how different people experience parenthood and the adjustment to life with a new baby. Some share their joy and fulfillment. Now that my child is 3 years old, I can't imagine life without him. Every day brings something new, and it's incredible to watch him grow and develop. Others talk about the stresses that come with raising children. It's a constant balancing act between work, personal life, and parenting. I'm always trying to find time for myself, but it's tough with everything that needs to be done. The impact of climate change on daily life climate change is another important topic that has a profound impact on how people live and think about the future. Discussions often revolve around how everyday life is being affected by changing weather patterns, rising sea levels, and environmental degradation. I've noticed that the summers here are getting hotter each year. It's not just uncomfortable, it's becoming dangerous. People are talking more and more about how to protect ourselves from extreme heat. These conversations reflect the reality of living in an era where climate change is no longer a distant threat, but a pressing issue that affects everyone. Last year, we had a huge storm that caused massive flooding. It was the first time I truly understood how vulnerable we are to the forces of nature. I used to think these things only happened in faraway places, but now they're happening here. The urgency of the issue is clear in these conversations as people share their concerns about the environment and the future. The more I learn about climate change, the more worried I become. But I also believe that small changes in our daily lives can make a big difference. I'm trying to reduce my plastic use and recycle more, but it's not always easy. The digital revolution, social media, and its effects. We've seen how the rise of technology has transformed various aspects of life, and one area that has had a significant impact is social media. Social media platforms have revolutionized the way people interact, communicate, and share their lives. I'm really into Instagram. It's amazing how many people I've been able to connect with. I follow a lot of travel bloggers, and it's so inspiring to see their photos and stories. Social media can be an excellent way to connect with others and share experiences, but it also has its downsides. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed by all the posts. It seems like everyone's life is perfect, and I start comparing myself to them. It's easy to forget that what we see online isn't always the full picture. These reflections point to the emotional effects of social media on mental health. There's a lot of pressure to keep up with trends and maintain an image online. I've been trying to take breaks from social media to avoid feeling stressed or inadequate. While social media can offer opportunities for connection and inspiration, it also creates challenges in terms of self-image and privacy. I think the more time I spend on social media, the less I focus on real-life connections. It's easy to get lost in the digital world, but I try to remind myself to make time for the people around me. These conversations provide valuable insights into how technology shapes our relationships and our mental well-being. Exploring the world of cryptocurrency has been a hot topic in recent years, and people are discussing how this new form of digital currency is changing the financial world. I've recently started investing in Bitcoin. It's exciting, but also a bit scary because the value can go up and down so quickly. I've had to learn a lot about the market and how to manage my investments. These conversations show how cryptocurrency is being embraced by both novice investors and seasoned financial experts. What I find interesting is how decentralized cryptocurrency is. There's no government or central bank controlling it, which feels like a revolution in the way we think about money. However, there are also concerns about the volatility and security of cryptocurrencies. I've heard about people losing their investments because of security breaches or sudden market crashes. It's definitely not a risk-free venture, but for some, it's an opportunity to make money quickly. People who are new to cryptocurrency often seek advice on how to get started. I don't know much about it, but I'm considering giving it a try. I think the future of finance is going to look very different with things like blockchain and digital currencies. Coping with stress in the modern world. The pressures of modern life, work, family, social expectations often lead people to feel stressed, overwhelmed, or even burnt out. As more people discuss the importance of mental health, they share ways they cope with stress. I've started taking long walks in nature when I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's amazing how much calmer I feel after spending time outside, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. These conversations reflect the growing awareness of mental health and the need to find healthy outlets for stress. I've also turned to mindfulness and meditation. It's been tough at first, but I've noticed that it helps me stay focused and more present in my daily life. People often discuss the importance of taking breaks and prioritizing self-care. I used to push myself too hard, thinking I could handle everything, but now I've realized that it's okay to take a step back and recharge. These conversations highlight the significance of setting boundaries, managing time effectively, and seeking help when needed. For many, stress management also involves finding a balance between work and leisure. I've learned to say no when my plate is too full. It's hard at first, but I've realized that overloading myself only leads to burnout. Now, I make time for activities I enjoy, like reading or cooking. These stories are full of insights on how people are learning to manage their stress, prioritize their well-being, and take control of their mental health. The evolution of fashion and personal style fashion has always been an important part of how we express ourselves, and over the years, it has evolved in fascinating ways. From casual wear to formal attire, people share stories about how their personal style has changed over time. When I was younger, I used to care a lot about following trends, but now I focus more on what feels comfortable and authentic to me. Conversations like these reflect how fashion trends come and go, but personal style is timeless. I've always been a fan of minimalist fashion. I like wearing simple pieces that are easy to mix and match. I think it reflects my personality. Clean, simple, and practical. People also discuss how fashion is used as a form of self-expression. I remember my first job interview. I was so nervous, but I wore my favorite suit, and it gave me the confidence I needed. What you wear can really change how you feel. These conversations show how the clothes we wear can impact our confidence and how we present ourselves to the world. Fashion is about more than just looking good. It's about feeling good in your own skin. I think we're seeing more people embracing their individuality and wearing what makes them feel empowered. The influence of music on emotions and memories. Music is another powerful topic that people often explore, as it has the ability to evoke strong emotions and memories. Every time I hear that song from my childhood, I'm taken back to the summer holidays. Music has a way of connecting us to our past and our emotions. These conversations reveal how songs can trigger specific memories or feelings. When I listen to music that I grew up with, it reminds me of the good times with my friends and family. It brings a sense of nostalgia that nothing else can replicate. Some people share how certain genres of music help them relax or focus. When I need to concentrate, I listen to classical music. It helps me clear my mind and stay productive. On the other hand, others use music as a way to process their emotions. Whenever I'm feeling down, I put on some upbeat music. It lifts my mood and helps me feel more positive. These reflections highlight the emotional power of music and how it serves as a tool for coping with different situations. As you continue listening to these real-world conversations, you'll notice how language flows naturally in various contexts. Whether it's discussing personal experiences, exploring new ideas, or reflecting on societal issues, these stories offer rich content that will help you improve your English listening comprehension. The more you listen to diverse conversations like these, the more confident you'll become in understanding native speakers and expressing yourself effectively in English. As we reach the end of today's episode, I hope these real-life stories and experiences have helped you improve your English listening skills. By diving into various topics, from personal stories to social issues, you've been exposed to authentic language use, which is key to becoming more comfortable with advanced English. Remember, the more you listen to natural conversations, the better you'll become at understanding different accents, expressions, and cultural contexts. Keep practicing, stay curious, and continue exploring the world around you through language. Thanks for tuning in to the English Pod community. Until next time, take care and keep listening.